Welcome to Full Metal RPG. I'm Richie Buzzkill, and tonight I've got a couple of new friends, and good old Kayla's here to help me talk to these two fantastic people. How you doing, Kayla?
I'm pretty good.
Excellent. And since the camera's on you already, or well, it'll switch back to me. Liane. Hi, Liane. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, I'm currently riding on a nice caffeine buzz, so we're gonna click along. And then we got Mike. Hello, Mike.
How's it going, everybody?
It's going pretty well, smoothly so far. And as with the exercise we've been doing at the beginning of most of these podcasts, hey, Mike, have you been playing anything lately besides about the subject of this podcast? Have you?
Yeah. I'm running a weekly Call of Cthulhu game with a group I've been running Call of Cthulhu games with for like 3 or 4 years. We're running the Two-Headed Serpent campaign, which is a lot of fun, very Indiana Jones pulp, but also there's snake people, which is pretty fun. And I just ran, or I'm in the middle of running the Black Worm of Brandonsford with the Cairn system. It's kind of like a cool like rules light thing that Johan Gal put together.
Very nice, very cool. And yeah, so the Call of Cthulhu, I'm assuming, would be the 1920s setting.
It's 30s, but yeah, basically.
Effectively,
it's
okay.
Right in the middle of the Dust Bowl. We just left Oklahoma.
Oh, nice. So yeah, very. I can just see the images right now. Excellent. Liane,
Yeah.
have you been playing anything on the outside world?
Sadly, not lately due to my, I'm actually back in school now, so, but I have been enjoying a lot of cooperative games, like short cooperative games. So it's, what is it, 5-minute dungeon with some of my friends, and then and introduction to, a light D&D with Lords of Waterdeep. So those are always my two favorite.
Yeah, 5-minute dungeon is kind of one of our favorite filler games. We played a lot of that at our friend convention between games to cool down and warm up again.
Yeah.
And Waterdeep is great. And Kayla, we had an adventure last night.
Yay, Cyborg!
Yeah, we were playing Cyborg together, and I killed the entire party.
I mean, did you kill us, or did we kill ourselves?
I mean, really, it was all your choices, but, the dice laid where they went, as they say.
I was going to say, I think that my character died just by being really bad at ziplining.
Yeah. So they were trying to infiltrate a death cult who worship nuclear destruction, who had their hideout in an old hollow cinema, and they decided to zip line from a building across to the roof of this the temple hollow cinema, and a couple people missed and took some damage. One of which was Kayla's character, Val, who basically tumbled off the edge of the building and just kept going, but also got to transfer into her wolf form.
Yeah, I had this weird maw that opens up super wide, and it's supposed to let you be able to, like, chomp down on people really effectively. And the problem is it deals like a D8 damage when the transformation happens. And I had 1 hit point for my character.
Yeah,
so if that ever triggered, I was going to die.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, they don't necessarily balance out the system. So you roll random hit points in Cyborg. And in this instance, I mean, a D8 would kill most initial cyborg characters outright. Like you have to have a couple of levels before you could take a D8. So, and then after that, they went inside the cinema and were gonna basically blame an attack on the this cult to another gang that they were trying to distract from chasing this other dude, and they opened up fire, and then because they weren't trying to kill that many people, they were just trying to rile them up. They then had a hail of return fire that killed 2 more characters, and then the fourth character decided to run away. Clearly, the right choice, but they decided to, they were going down by rope off the top of the building, and they let go of the rope by a failed dexterity roll or agility roll, and so they ended up on the pavement. So, but hey, we're gonna. My plan is to keep the world going with new characters, because the generator that's on the website, we can have new characters within 30 seconds or so, depending on how many times you want to click through generation of the characters. So I love that. Go ahead.
I ran Merkborg, and we got the Scumbergther app, like you're talking about, and we certainly got through a lot of characters using that app.
Yeah, Punk Maker, I think, is what the one for Cyborg is called, and it's really it's a lot of fun. And I also like the NPCs I randomly generated all worked really well for what I need. Basically started the session with a debt collection because everybody owed money to somebody, because that's cyberpunk. And so I started by collecting some debts from everybody because they all had money from the last mission. So can't have that. Yeah, that was our fun Saturday night, right, Kayla?
Yep.
But we're here this afternoon to talk about what Mike and Liane do, where you both run after school RPG clubs. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct. After school, during lunch, sometimes in the middle of school, all sorts of times.
And Liane?
So I sponsor a Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPG club after school. It happens to come every couple times a day, or not couple times a day, couple times a week. But we're trying to get them on a better schedule. But there's probably about 50 students in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What size is your club, Mike?
We actually have 6 different teachers that run it, because we're about the same thing. It's just so popular. Kids absolutely want to get involved in role-playing games. They want to get involved in Magic cards. I have one of our teachers does Warhammer stuff. So there's about 6 different teachers running something, and yeah, at least 50, maybe 60 kids all told.
And so that's funny, because it reminded me, and I had it kind of went to the detritus of the dust of my mind, is when I was in high school, we had a chess club, but what that chess club really was Magic Club. So we played Magic the Gathering at lunch and at chess club. So but back in the 90s, you definitely would not have gotten any headway saying we're going to play anything other than traditional games. So kind of what I want to hear from, we'll start with Liane first, kind of how it started, and then go to Mike after that. But
well, it would probably have to start years ago, me joining Kayla's D&D group. We have a weekly D&D campaign that we've done. I joined in 2020, just before COVID and the lockdown. So we went from me having developing an idea for a character and then switching to an online process, which was hard. I think hard for me a little bit, but I enjoyed it. And we're still on that same campaign. So, and I'm 2 characters in now, so that is pretty awesome.
Well, that's a great distraction tangent. I've got to ask Kayla. Kayla, is that the game where you're a serial killer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure that does the party still not know that you're a serial killer?
Um,
We
I was gonna say, have you guys figured that out?
yeah. Well, we know that you're just a lot darker than you were before.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they fully figured out that I'm a serial killer.
Okay.
They just know that I'm not as good as I used to be,
yeah.
or at least, so I used to be the moral compass of this party.
Yeah.
As a lawful evil character, because I was that lawful that they didn't know I was that evil.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a surprise for the whole group. So, so actually the joining of D&D and going into teaching occurred around the same time. I was a career switcher and decided to go into teaching. So there was a lot of adjustments for me. Oh, you too?
No, I'm saying this is when you decided to become a teacher.
Yeah,
in the middle of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it seemed like a good idea.
To be honest, it was 2019 before the pandemic. I left my job in February, and then the pandemic hit in March. So not great timing, but we all learned. We went from face-to-face school and face-to-face Dungeons and Dragons to online everything all the time. So, but needless to say, I've enjoyed the process. Although I'm very, I always tease that I'm not a very creative person. So this is definitely, or has been, an adjustment for me to be imaginative, be creative, and I, as a Gen X, I wish I had that in my childhood early on, because there's so much communication and skills going on there. But anyways, so I'm teaching my class and getting to know you, and I share, hey, I'm in dungeon. I'm a big nerd. I really like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a band geek. I like going to Run Fair and dressing up. And all these kids are just like, "What's Dungeons and Dragons?" And I have a bunch of other people saying, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Do you have a group that you're playing with? And I was like, well, that's what I would like to find out. Would you be willing to join? And then one of my students came up and she's like, I've got almost the whole drama department wanting to start. That's really what it is.
Of course.
Almost the whole drama department wanting to start their own campaigns. And would you be willing to sponsor? And I was like, absolutely. And they put and things are done a little differently. The person who starts the club is actually the student. And they have to get the draw in. They have to get all the members. They have to get the approval by the county and all that stuff. And I just sign a paper saying, yes, I'll be here. So, and it was interesting. So the first day, we had a bunch of students show up, and there was probably about 50-ish kids or more in there. And I had teachers coming in like, what is going on in here? Why are there so many kids? And why is Mrs. Jones standing on a chair trying to get everybody's attention? But, I wanted everybody to be heard. And we needed to figure out who had played and who had not. So that's the beginning.
So you admitted some weakness, and the children took advantage of it, and now you're running. Okay.
Oh, I'm like total butter in their hands. Like anytime they ask me to do anything, yeah.
Well,
It's okay. It's okay. I'll learn how to do this.
right. You'll get there. You'll
I'll
get
get there.
Mike, how about you? How did you get started with running one of these programs or situations?
Yeah, I've been running games for young people since I was a young person. I started back in like '96 or so with second edition, but and then ran it for kids at my summer camp, and then ran it for kids at my old school. But this school, I'm pretty lucky actually. I had colleagues that had already gotten this program running before I even showed up. So they were just like, "Hey, we've got a lot of kids that want to play D&D. I know you run games. Would you be willing to run a bunch of games?" And so that yeah, I just kind of got tagged in by some of my predecessors at my current school, and now I'm running. We have a community lunch program, so I'm running 2 games per week during lunch. I'm running an after school game on Friday, and there's also an activity day that they have. And that one I actually had the privilege of running a session for 26 kids,
Wow.
and I was the dungeon master. I just kind of put them into small groups. All right, you're all rogues, you're all paladins, and then I'd yell, "All right, paladins, what are you doing right now?" And they would just kind of go for it. But yeah, so yeah, I was lucky enough. I didn't have the all the work to do that Liane did getting all this club together. I just kind of walked right in.
I,
Oh,
I really didn't do any work. It was really left up to the students, and I should probably lead with like, um, I'm a high school teacher, so the command in doing all of this goes to the students, and they have to generate everything in order to get this sponsorship. So
That's a great way to do it.
yeah,
That's a really good way to do it.
yeah.
well, that's both of these are amazing stories. I want to pick into that very large game because I run a 16-person game effectively as the game master. That was also mostly a disaster, but I'm sure yours was much smarter because having them divided off into like small groups of their own class. Be like, well, so is the rogue all the rogues? Oh, you're all looting the paladin's stuff. Okay, all right. Well, moving on. Well, excellent. So you, I mean, it sounds like this is pretty accepted now because I would had even assumed even up till very recently that even schools were still being a bit uh uh fuddy duddy about Dungeons and Dragons still. But I'm glad that it's kind of maybe that just because the different generation of teachers or the
Mhm.
being in pop culture and whatnot.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure there's definitely counties and states and various places that's still a problem. I'm up here in Connecticut, so there's not like it's a pretty liberal, left leaning kind of not satanic panic kind of vibe at my school. I mean, I'm sure there's every school's got a couple of families that are feeling like repressing others is kind of their best way to get to heaven or whatever. But we're a very open school for the most part in a lot of ways.
So we're in Northern Virginia, and I would say that we're probably in a community that's a little bit more left leaning, but there are a lot of conservative like pockets, um, and I think it. I think the focus just really becomes on, especially when it comes to these kids, I mean, these kids were protesting um, trans issues in October when something was going on with our county that they didn't like. So it was just one of those things that of course, they're going to jump on something where all characters and all students are accepted and heard.
Well,
So,
excellent.
yeah.
I do have kind of a follow-up question to that. So, what, if anything, has been the parents' response to this? Like, have you guys gotten any pushback from it or any like words of encouragement?
I haven't gotten any. When I had mentioned it actually at back to school night, one of the parents was like, I'd like to play. Where can I play as an adult? Because I feel like more and more, especially since the pandemic, these little these little group gatherings have become difficult for them. It's a way to like get a break, and so I'm definitely considering to see if parents would come in to like have a game night. So we'll see how that goes.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah.
I parent teacher conference. All right, roll for initiative.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's how that works anyways, but at least from what I hear from other teachers is that's kind of a dreaded situation of the parent teacher conference.
Oh
But
no, it's a very powered by the apocalypse. Like, all right, there's one thing that your student is doing well. Tell me about what that one thing is. There's a very open
right.
narrative focus. No, yeah, for the most part, it's been pretty positive. Again, like kids talking about how my dad is so excited that I'm playing. He gave me his set of dice and stuff like that. It's been very positive, very supportive group. Like, not everybody knows what's going on. Like, they're not sure what it is or but mostly almost entirely supportive, positive reactions for parents.
Well, that's amazing to hear. I love hearing that. So what is the kind of like structure of one of the, and I know with children after school and structure is often a oxymoron, but like what is the structure of one of these one of these sessions, one of the is are you're not the only one running. There's probably kids running too, and it's like lasts for so long, and there's ongoing groups and stuff like that.
So in our club, we actually all the students run the campaigns. I'm merely just holding space and making sure that they're not going into areas that or disrespecting one another or um, causing behavior that they wouldn't consider very positive to themselves. So that's what I do since it is very much like we had, I don't know, probably about ten of the students come and say, I want to DM. And we're like, how much experience do you have? They're like, oh, I've got lots of experience. So we kind of broke it up into like, who wants to take on beginners? Um, Kind of like intermediate and advanced groups. And they just kind of divided it. We're going to meet on Mondays, we're going to meet on whatever days, and then when they can't find a space, they come to me. So they're constantly running the games on the days that they can all meet as a group. They created their own Discord for them to like communicate, and it's it's really kind of created itself. Honestly, I'm just there to make sure it's available for them.
Well, that's great because I mean, I feel like when I was a kid that we would not have been that organized, but I feel like the tools exist now to for that to happen.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we would have been that organized at all.
No. No, and the most amazing thing is it's not just game related. It's like, hey, we're gonna have a theme day, and that theme day is we're gonna cook all these things from a Dungeons and Dragons cookbook, and we're gonna have we're gonna go to the newest play at school. And honestly, the play that we had just done in the fall was She Kills Monsters. So that kind of really brought in the hype. Like, we just did this play and now we're going to actually do the thing. That's pretty amazing. So, I would have to say that the timing of all of this is just like kismet.
Wow, that's beautiful, Mike. What's kind of the structure of your particular club?
Yeah, like I said, we're lucky to have a bunch of teachers that are like into various things. So usually, some kids will go and play Magic in one room. Some kids will go play Warhammer in another room, and then some kids will run their own campaigns, like Liane was talking about. For me, it's mostly I'm running a campaign for like groups of like 6 or 7 kids. During lunch, we only have about 25 minutes, so I do what we call TikTok D&D, where like we just get into it. Maybe one of my groups is going through a mega dungeon. We're using I'm calling it a heck Heckstone prison or Stoneheck prison, because I'm using the Stonehell prison module, that like giant mega dungeon. And they just go through, they hit a couple rooms and they move on. They go in another room, they make friends with all the kobolds and start giving them all their gold. These kids are crazy. They do all sorts of really cool things. And then the other another group is after school, and we'll play for a couple hours after school on a Friday or something like that.
What? Okay, just I want to hear about TikTok dungeons. Like, what is it? How does that work?
So we're lucky enough to have a full hour for lunch, and what the kids are supposed to do is like half of the lunch they go and eat, and the other hour they go be part of a club or go do something productive, get involved. And that was kind of an idea that the school had to get more kids involved with the school, because so often if you don't have a ride or can't get home after school, that whole club world kind of passes you by. So to get more engagement, we started this community lunch thing, which has been really wonderful. But as you guys imagine, 25 minutes for a D&D session isn't a heck of a lot. But we just jump right into it. I have the kids take notes on what they did, and then we jump right in and go, and they get through a couple of rooms, have a couple encounters, or do something memorable, and usually end on a cliffhanger, and it's a lot of fun.
So is it like, do you have like I sort of imagined having a chess clock on the on the table, like, all right, and I'm gonna attack, and that's my turn, and I'm assuming it's not quite that aggressive.
No, not really. I mean, I've gotten really good at running a tight game. I got really, during the pandemic, I started running games for my friends online, and we'd usually try to keep it to 2 hours, because after you've been staring at a computer all day, nobody wants to spend their free time staring at a computer all night. But we also want to see each other. So I got really good at running a Call of Cthulhu adventure in 2 hours, just boom, hit it, hit these sort of moments, make sure that everybody gets a chance to shine, everybody says something, everybody's involved in some way, and then when it's over, it's over. And for these kids, the bell rings, they got to get to their last block.
Yeah, there's definitely the all right, and you crash through another door, and there's the kind of moving on. But yeah, 2 hours ends up being kind of, I think, where a lot of people have kind of ended up after it was starting to happen. I feel like the whole 2020 kind of sped it up, but it was starting to happen where a lot of sessions at conventions and stuff were starting to end up at 2 hours. So I feel like that, but especially when you're online, it can be very draining. And but that's amazing. All right, roll for initiative. You could just start the whole thing just with the meme of roll for initiative. Okay. And just get into combat for 20 minutes and have a couple turns. And
I mean, I'm just impressed with the 20 minutes. I had some kids come in one day, and usually what I try to do is have them hey, let me know when you need the room, so I'm here. Because I usually set a day aside for Dungeons and Dragons, and then I'm sponsored to 2 other clubs, and they'll just show up. They're like, but we need to play. And I'm like, okay. And that they had one day, it was I think just before winter break. It was a Friday, and they're like, the library said that we can't play in there because the school's closed. So can you just spare us until 4:30? And I'm like, yeah, I can absolutely do that, because you want to encourage this engagement between them and make space for it. And I think them knowing that I'll try to make it happen or facilitate it, making it happen is just, helpful to them, and they can see that they've got somebody rooting for them, whoever they are.
Yeah, whoever they are.
I think it's super cool that you have so many kids that are so engaged and so actively looking for this, that they're like, hey, we don't have this scheduled, but let me go to Miss Liane and see if she'll sit with us.
I actually one day I had actually scheduled off, and I put it in the system, the club system. The room is not going to be available, so you better make arrangements. And they came to the room, saw I wasn't there, and then went to one of my coworkers in the department, who it was the one of the game masters' moms, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they came to my room, and it was amazing." She was like, "I thought I was gonna have to just grade quietly, and I got to hear all this, role playing, and it was pretty awesome." So yeah, so it does definitely take a team of teachers, not just one. So I have some really great coworkers out there that are helping and make it happen.
What level of understanding do you feel like the teachers need to have in order to be like sponsoring or running this game?
Um, well, I think the biggest thing for me, honestly, since because it's something that you and I have talked about, is just knowing that everybody it's a way for everybody to kind of branch out into a space that they feel comfortable in, and they're not always getting that. They're not getting that at home, or they're not getting it in their classroom, and it gives them the space to do that. So the first thing that I told them was, "Hey, this," and I pointed to my set, and I said, "Everyone is accepted here. I do not want to be in a situation where I'm hearing there's disrespect, regardless of who the character is, what gender the character is, how they identify, if they're purple or green. I don't. That is not something we're here to do. Everybody's going to be heard." And if you run into a situation that you're uncomfortable with, I was like, "We're going to use the X card," and that is absolutely something that I told all the game masters. I told the head of the club, the student director of the club, I guess. And but most of the teachers know, like they know. I've had a lot of interaction with them, and what it is that they're, what I think that the students should be. Well, not what but they know that we have like a citizenship mission within the school, and that carries over into all after school activities. So that's
So
our guideline.
so are you you said the X card. Is there any other base requirements that you're putting upon everybody that's in the club? Like, is it? I mean, obviously, there's like a
I mean,
community rules or whatever, right? But
there are, but I spent probably a good 45 minutes listening to one student or actually it was a campaign of students um, play Smash or Pass through the handbook of like which character that they would. Yeah, it was excruciating, but it was like I was like,
Baseball.
okay, they're like eighth, ninth graders. I'm all right. I'm not gonna kill their joy, but and there are sometimes that they were talking about like, Miss Jones, how do I get nuclear weapons? And I'm like, where are you? Where, like, what are you playing? Who's your game master? And I was like, well, why don't we just, what time period are you guys in? And like, I'm trying to like, do you have a wizard or any spell person that does magic? And they're like, no. The game master is like, why are you letting them do that? Why are you giving them ideas? And I'm like, okay. So don't give them ideas. All right. So
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like it's good to help with the history. Like, it's sort of teaching a little history of like, where do we get these? Well, are you in the 1940s yet?
Mm-hmm. Yes. But I also don't want to kill their joy. So if they want to sit there and talk about where do I get nuclear weapons in this medieval time, fine, so be it. But you need to really clear that with your game master. And they're like walking over and asking him questions.
Yeah, I've got a strict no PvP and no war crimes rule in the campaigns that I run for the most part. So, you know, fortunately, right now, most of my groups are like more excited to like they give the monsters gold, and the monsters are nice to them. Like there's an entire level of one of these dungeons that anytime a kobold sees these party members, they're like, oh, these guys are cool. They give you gold, and they've just like absolutely got the run of one of these levels of this ancient prison because the kobolds all like them. But yeah, occasionally a kid will be like, yeah, I want to torture this guy, and I'm like, yeah, that might be cool, but not in my game.
Yeah.
So I do crush their fun a little bit, sadly,
Yeah.
when they start doing kind of weird things. But I really appreciate your approach. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I haven't all of the games that I've listened to and been a part of, and it's probably been about, I don't know, a good many. They haven't really. Usually, it's just a bunch of kids just having a good time, like learning their weapons, learning their spells, trying to line things up, trying to figure out how they're going to do their character's accent. It's all those different elements that that's the nitty gritty right there that they're more worried about versus like, how am I going to blow this thing up? So, yeah.
So it sounds like it's. I mean, I know I sort of alluded to this a little bit, but it sounds like it's majority Dungeons and Dragons. Is that? Are they all rebelling at this point, or is it come back around? You know, I know with the kerfuffle over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all ours are Dungeons and Dragons. I do in my class try to use gamification for things, and that includes we have a block where it's like a homeroom, and I'll play other non kind of RPG games with them, which is very bonding. Um, Brings up a lot of community, and yeah, I think that's the biggest part that draws them in is, hey, she likes to have fun and she's a math teacher. So,
It's a very unusual situation for them.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, we're running mostly Dungeons and Dragons because I just kind of feel like that's what the kids like sign up for, right? They saw Stranger Things or whatever, and they want to play like the brand name Dungeons and Dragons. But I bring in a lot of storytelling game aspects, and I bring in a little bit like the OSR, where like if they're like, oh, we try this really cool plan, and if I'm like, oh, that plan sounds like it would just work. They're like, do I have to roll for it? It's like, no, that plan works. You came up with a cool idea. You did some problem solving. You don't need to roll your deception. You just gave that kobold 10 gold. He's going to do whatever you want. That's more money than he will ever make. Like, I don't have to roll a persuasion? No.
Well, wait till they figure out that because they can just pay off the monsters, that then they will have the Legion of Monsters like attack another level of the dungeon or some shit. So I would be prepared for that because like somebody's gonna figure out, wait, I can employ these guys instead of just paying them off. Like,
Oh, I love that. That's some problem solving.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I hope that
absolutely.
they get there because that's also kind of the best. So
Yeah, they did just massacre there's a brigands encampment, and they're like, oh, those guys are going to steal from us, so we'll get them first. So they did a little bit of war crimes on those guys, but the last guy that was left behind, they decided to name Bart, and they're taking him around. He's gonna check for traps for them and do stuff. And they're like, well, we'll pay again. They're like, we'll pay you 10 gold a day. And he's like, again, that's more money than I was making as a thief a moment ago. So let's go. And
yeah,
so they have
that's
like pets.
yeah, that's more money than he would make in 6 months easily. Just even stealing along the road, I'm sure, unless
So I
something
am
really nice come along. Yeah.
curious. Sorry, I'm jumping in,
Go
but
for it.
how many, like, what is the ratio to like beginners, true beginners that have no idea what they're doing coming into your all's clubs, or like how many of them are coming in with that experience? What's kind of the breakdown there?
I would have to say that there are a lot of there. I would have to say that at least 50% of the group have not played, and what's great about that is they're not alone. They have each other to like go through the process, um, and these more experienced players are so ready to share this part of their joy with them. How to create a character, what should I be doing, what's best about this type of race, and what's best about this type of like it's just so great to sit there and watch. And all I and like I went through and I um made photocopies of blank character sheets for them, and they sit and they bring it. And I have like this, it's very similar to that book you shared with me, where it's like these are the questions you should ask about when you build your character, and where are they from, and what's their name, or anything like that, and what's important to your character. And it's that bleed. It's a little bit of bleed. I think it's how they view themselves sometimes, and them having a chance to be a little, make believe. I had one game. It was this like last couple of weeks, um, where we had a dungeon master actually was doing a lot of accents, and he has a slight speech issue. And I just noticed that it goes away. It goes away once he's in character, and it's just so wonderful to watch that just melts, and he just relishes his group and his little game, not his little game, but his game that he's playing with his friends.
What book was that, Kayla?
Oh Lord.
Oh,
It's on like building a character background.
yeah.
I will get you the link of what the book is
All
so
right.
that you can link it.
Yeah, I'll link the
Wonderful.
book. Has there been any other instance? I mean, that sounds really amazing. That just practicing accents has really helped that person get fix their or help them with their speech impediment. As
Mhm.
I think I'm much better at not stuttering as well because I spent a lot of time talking to other people and recording a show. But has there been any other instances like that where you've seen great improvement from the students?
Um, I think, well, for actually one of my students, um, they were even if it's just how they are with other, how they interact in the classroom. Like, um, they joined recently, and at the beginning of the year, and they're actually one of my actual class students, and they joined, and they were very quiet and very, and then I started showing up to the things that they were participating in. Like, they were part of the play, and they were part of these different things, and you show interest in them, like, hey, have you considered joining D&D? And they're like, oh yeah, I don't know, I've never played it before. I'm like, that doesn't matter. You can come and we'll find you a group. And now they're actively asking and participating in class. They see that they have a unit of friends that's not only in their classroom, but like in different aspects of the school. Like, you have these cross grade level connections now, because it's mainly like ninth graders with ninth graders and 10th graders with 10th graders. Now you have, seniors playing with freshmen. What? That's crazy. But they had a blast doing it. So I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest draw for a lot of the kids.
Yeah, I definitely in my school I see a lot of confidence building with it, and probably the best thing that's happened is had kids email me like in college, like they'd be like, hey, I'm having a really good time in college, and because of the game that we played together, I was able to reach out to new people at college, like my first couple of weeks, and now I've got this great group of friends that I'm playing with on a regular basis. So yeah, I don't have a particularly like amazing story, but there's definitely a lot of kids that gain a lot of confidence and community building as a
Mm-hmm.
result of being a part of games.
Yeah, I mean that's role playing games are a great icebreaker if people are into it. Also, your humble host here would definitely you definitely would not hear me talk as much if I didn't start playing role playing games. Now I can't shut up, so it's a upside and downside. But uh,
Well, and I will say it's been really fun for me. So, for those of you that haven't listened in the past or don't know, I run D&D for therapy, and so I've been kind of like tracking self esteem from start of group to end of group, and it's been really cool to watch their self esteem scores go up by like 25, 30%, 38%. I'm like, geez, this is making a big impact for them.
yeah, a lot of just self esteem is just super valuable to even have some. When you have none, it's very difficult. I know that quite well. But
And it has to do with all that connection, those connections that they're making, and knowing that they have this set time, set place to make these connections when their schedule might be less predictable. And I think that's what kids do look for, regardless of like rigidity of a schedule. They want to know that something's routine, and they when are they going to have that game, and when are they, I can't do it this week, but when can I see you next type of. So those are, I think, the strong things that they're learning.
And I don't know like what you guys have noticed in your groups, but I did notice like the kids that I see in groups playing are like really good at making space and listening to each other. And I even had a parent like comment on this recently that they were like, yeah, I was just sitting outside and I could hear like some of the louder kids that are really dominant in this space just like quieting down and softening down their tone to be able to hear the quieter kids and like making space in that environment for them. And I think that really helps to like build in some self-esteem and build in some confidence. Like, okay, these people want to hear what I have to say, even though I'm this like quiet person, they're still willing to listen.
well, this is all amazing and inspirational. Um, is there any kind of like Mike? Is there any kind of like things that people, if they're interested in other teachers that might listen to this, or would see, as roadblocks or anything that lessons learned, as it were, from my corporate speak, from running
I
these
mean,
things?
yeah, it's important probably to have some of your administration on your side about doing it. I think what Liane was saying with having it be student focused and student like led, I think that's incredibly valuable. That wasn't our case, but like having students be the ones to advocate and push for something, I think that's incredibly important to show administration and like the community at large that this is something that your kids want to be a part of and have in your group. I mean, I've obviously just I would say probably encourage people to be PG-13 or lower to avoid oh, this is what my daughter or my son or whatnot had their experience at game and then get a big scandal or something going. But for the most part, I think that uh, in this climate, it's pretty easy.
Liane, do you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with letting the parent, especially like at parent teacher night or back to school night, letting them know that, hey, I play this game. I'm really interested in not only Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm really interested in um, board games, and I'm really interested in. Well, I really love math, um, um, and like enjoy all these things, and I really would love to get your child into the class too to see how they interact with this. So if you think they're interested or you have experience with it, please let me know. I do a lot of. I had one. Yeah, the one parent say, I really love a game. I'd really love to have a weekly game, but I don't even know where to begin with that. And I'm like, well, it's a lot easier than you think it might be. But, it's just having the determination to push it through. And thankfully, this student was very determined and we had just a giant, she had a lot of interest. They had a lot of interest.
Well, this is all super amazing. Kayla, do you have any other questions? I'm kind of good right at the moment, but I figure we could wrap up thoughts. But
I don't think so.
okay, well, this is truly inspiring. Like, I love when people, it sort of echoes my own backstory. So I always like that, where I get tapped on the shoulder and I learn that I can make friends through playing pretend and rolling some dice together. So
it's pretend with probabilities and statistics.
Right. Oh, okay. Sorry, math teacher.
Math teacher.
It's you can learn some. Go ahead.
It's pretend with global politics and history and economics, of course.
Of course.
It's pretend with all the subjects. Like all the subjects can be covered while playing role-playing games.
What I think the biggest thing is it gets the students to think outside the box a lot. And that's what we're trying to get them to do, is do that critical thinking. Yeah. Even in a game. Yeah.
Yeah. Flexible and critical thinking.
Yeah.
Great wins.
Yeah.
Well, great. Mike, do you have any final thoughts?
Just thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk about this, and thanks to all the teachers out there that are doing this in their schools and giving kids an outlet to do something a little bit different with their school time and find another way to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And if you are a teacher, and you would just reach out to me. I might send some things your way. So just know that I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and just bring it. You're bringing it, so I would like to bring it to you. So thank you very much, both of you. I really appreciate you coming on and your precious free time, as little as teachers actually have. You are underpaid, almost assuredly. You should be paid more. And I really appreciate all that, because without literacy, we'd all be running around trying to figure out how rocks fit together again. So, but I really appreciate all you do, and I really appreciate also the patrons for supporting the show. And Full Metal RPG is an engine that's powered by their support, whatever it is. And I love seeing it, and I really like to thank you all. Obviously, you can buy t-shirts, not the old school one I'm wearing today, but on our merch store, and just check out the links in the description. So thank you very much, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.
Ah.